And that leads into this brilliant project that you have now, the Never Broken website. Live life the way you deserve it. 3-step formula for living emotionally free. Let's discuss emotionally free. How do you actually define it? Because it's incredible. You have, in one part of the site, you say, you don't need money or anything other than what's in your heart.
Mm-hmm. You know, it's funny. So I set out to avoid being a statistic. I thought if I really was hyper-vigilant, I could avoid the pitfalls. And I avoided several of them. I didn't become a stripper or a drug addict. So those are 2 real pluses. But I didn't avoid pain. And I fell into a lot of cliches anyway. It turns out being hypervigilant doesn't make you that safe. So I did well for several years, got myself through high school, worked my way through, traveled all over the country and all through Mexico, ended up in San Diego. My life came to a screeching halt, and suddenly I was a homeless kid that was stealing. It started with carrots, which apparently are the gateway vegetable. Because it pretty soon led to the hard stuff, like, you know, imported pistachios. I was a very healthy homeless kid until one day it looked like it would escalate because there was a sundress in a storefront window and I really coveted it. And I had been shoplifting for quite a long time. I looked at it as taking care of myself. I had no remorse about it, no guilty conscience. I felt like this is how I provide for myself. This is proving to myself that I can provide for myself, and it made me feel powerful and safe. It was, of course, a way of covering up how powerless I actually felt, but it never dawned on me at the time. And so I went in this store, and I was trying to figure out how to shoplift this dress. And I was in the dressing room, and I had these baggy jeans on, and I was shoving this dress into my jeans. And I got a glimpse of myself in the mirror, and I saw what I looked like, and I looked like a statistic. I was agoraphobic, which is an intense fear of leaving your home. And when you don't have a home, that's actually quite exasperated. I was having massive panic attacks. I was shoplifting, and my life, I was going to end up in jail or dead in very short order. And I did not avoid becoming a statistic. It was a very humbling, very eye-opening experience. And I remembered in that one moment looking in the mirror something that I had read that I believe Buddha had said, that happiness does not depend on who we are or what we have. It depends on what we think. And I had the luxury of not having anything else. I couldn't be distracted by anything else. Literally all I had were my thoughts. And so I decided if that really was the bricks, the building blocks of all life, what was I working with? What bricks was what did I have? What thoughts was I having? And so I tried to figure out what I was thinking, but I was so stuck in panic and fear cycles, I didn't actually have a talent for witnessing my thoughts in real time. And so I decided to solve for that, and what I came up with was watching my hands, because the hands are the servants of your thought. And so if you watch what your hands are doing, you can actually see what it is you're thinking. And so I decided to I couldn't change what I was doing, frankly, and I didn't even try in the beginning. I began to just observe. I began to simply witness what my hands did in the day, when they stole, when they wrote, how many doors they opened, how many hands they shook, how many hands they didn't shake. And I really learned that I quit believing in myself. My actions proved it. Somewhere in the matter of 3 short years, I quit thinking I was capable of earning $40. I'd earned money my entire life. And here I was where I didn't even think I had the ability to do that. And so I started changing what my hands were doing, and what that exercise did was, not only help me figure out what I was thinking, but it forced me to be present. Because if you're actually observing yourself, you're actually in the moment. And we've all heard the power of now and those types of things. I don't think people know how potent that is. To be able to change your life, you have to be showing up. And what fear does is it takes the past and it projects it into the future. And it robs you of the only opportunity you have to create any meaningful change in your life. And for me to get out of those panic attack cycles, I had to start getting some very serious ways of interrupting this projection into the future that hasn't happened and show up right now so I could actually do something different. And so that really began my journey into what is now termed mindfulness. That term wasn't around at the time. But I had had some practice at it because of my writing when I was 8, when I decided to say, all right, I'm not going to drink or do drugs to handle pain, I'm going to write. And I noticed when I wrote, I got calmer, my anxiety lessened. If you guys all think of feelings like greed, anxiety, fear, you have a constrictive feeling in your body. Like if you just check in with your body and you think about those feelings, you think of a tight, closed feeling. And then if you think of gratitude, trust, hope, faith, love, you have a calmer, more expansive feeling in your body. There's actually biochemical responses that happen as a result of those things. And so what I started learning to do was saying, if my brain is naturally addictive, it's a hardwired part of our survival skill, can I get it addicted to things that help me instead of hurt me? And because I had writing and a history of writing, I already had a healthy habit to insert into the habit loop. So the habit loop is trigger, stress for me, action. I went through all kinds of negative ones. I had eating disorders, I had agoraphobia, I had panic attacks, I had stealing, you name it. And then there was a reward. I usually felt a little calmer and a little more in control when I stole, or if I binge ate, or if I did name it. But it was very short-lived. And so when I learned to put a new action into that habit loop, let's say writing, observing, I had a more expansive feeling, and that calm feeling lasted longer. It was actually a better high, a better reward. And so I started really focusing on that, of how can I use my brain's power. Something I noticed that happened when I wrote is it forced me to observe. And it was interesting because I'd read philosophy, and Descartes said, I think, therefore I am. We've all probably heard that. If I was to refine that very humbly, I would say, I perceive what I think, therefore I am. So if you can perceive your thoughts, who's perceiving? It means there's something other than our mind. If I can perceive I'm sad, I'm something other than sad. I am the observer of sad. I am the observer of happy. I am the observer of distracted. I am the observer. And so I sort of liken it as a metaphor like a car. Our bodies are this ingenious, amazing vehicle, a car, if you will. Our brain is not the driver. Our brain is the amazing steering wheel. But if there is no driver, you can go on autopilot, and your brain will hijack you, and it'll cause all kinds of stresses and worries and repeat patterns and project them into the future, and you'll just be like a puppet on the marionette of a history that you really have no say of. And so as I began to develop a relationship with what I call the observer, the driver, I was able to intervene and actually have a say in my life's narrative. I became the architect of a life instead of the passenger tied up like a hostage in the car.